Welcome to this next episode of Engagement 4.0. If you're not sure what 4.0 and engagement means together, check out this link. This next episode is about a webinar series Markus Bornheim and I just did recently. It was a 3-part series on everything Avaya Breeze. We took these recordings of these videos and wanted to make them available to all of you. We hope you find something interesting in here. Also take a look at the description below. Of each of these videos, we've got extra links and information, and also to the partners involved here. If you want to get in touch with anybody, just reach out to us. Part 2 of the webinar series is about the contact center. What role is Breeze and all the new things coming around Breeze and the contact center going to hold for us? We also have another partner with us here today, Symmetrics. They're going to talk about their role in intelligent systems and what they're doing also with Avaya Breeze snap-ins. And we're going to show you some new things you probably haven't seen now around chatbots.
The stage is yours.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. And as you've already seen the slide here, some great words: OCEANA, Slate, AACC, WEBRTC. Some of those you probably know. Some of them you've maybe never heard of here. And I'm really excited, and I'm happy you've all come back for the second webinar of the series here, where we're going to talk about Breeze and the contact center. And I have a lot to cover in a very short period of time. And maybe I've got too much on my plate here, but I wanted to give you the chance to see what we're doing, what Avaya is doing right now with the contact center and Breeze, but also see a little bit of what we're doing in the next 8 weeks, 12 weeks, and going forward here, and perhaps wake you up to a couple of ideas that could be really relevant for your conversations with your clients out in the marketplace there. They probably are already starting to think about. And to get into that, I'm going to jump right in. So what the first subject I wanted to talk about was Breeze and AACC. We know, and I got comments from other webinars, that the AACC subject's not talked about enough when we talk about contact center, so I thought it's really good to have this initial start and just kind of explain Aura Contact Center, the Avaya Aura Contact Center platform. Many of you know who are working in that part of the business here with that. These pieces on the slides, the red pieces, are all stuff you should be aware of. The Experience Portal, the Aura underlaying there, all the channels. The Aura Contact Center solution is already a very media-rich solution there, also from my channels and from the agent interfaces there. But already today, and this is really important, people understand that Breeze is already available to be part of an extension of your Aura Contact Center platform. So what we're doing with Breeze is we're adding functionality that the Aura Contact Center platform itself just doesn't have. One of the examples is co-browsing. We've had numerous customers come to us and say, it's time, we need to finally offer something where their customers, while I'm on the phone, they're saying they're trying to fill out a web form together here. I want to see that form with them together. I want to share desktops so I can help them get through that there. The co-browsing functionality could have been written within Aura Contact Center, could have been added to the functionality there. But as we started working on Breeze a few years ago, we made a fundamental decision that we weren't going to add core functionalities like this just to the platform. We needed to break it out from the platform, Aura Contact Center, and put it on Breeze. And that's that Breeze with the blue components there. These are snap-ins. The present services, of course, you probably know. Real-time speech is a snap-in there, which can listen to speech, whether the customer or agent side, and trigger events to happen here. Maybe signal a supervisor that something needs to be noted about right now in real time. Co-browsing, and of course, Context Store. We've talked a bit about in the last webinar. I'm going to bring some examples in here. Particularly in Contact Center, Context Store brings us huge potentials to really finally address the challenges companies have with their customer journeys. So even though there's just one slide around Aura Contact Center, I'm not going to go into what the AACC and this roadmap and pieces here, but where Breeze comes in, it's available today. You should be talking to customers about additional functionalities, features, and what it might be able to do, and we're going to cover some of those in a broader sense when we talk about OCEANA here. So OCEANA, some of you may have heard if you've seen some of the releases on the web. I believe it was in May of this year. Here in April, OCEANA was announced in Orlando that we are bringing out a package of contact center solutions it's based on Breeze, but initially for the elite customer. So the AACC customer we've addressed with Breeze and additional functionality. The elite customer, for those who don't know Elite, many of you probably do, but if you don't know Elite, Elite is the communication manager, voice only. It can be extended with the Elite multi-channel solution to have web chat functionality and email there, but it was limiting there. So what we've decided to do with the Breeze platform, since it's already natively part in addition to the Aura solution here, where Elite is homed anyway, is to create a whole suite of solutions, calling it here OCEANA here, all of it around contact center solutions, and adding it onto Breeze here to enable those Elite customers that are out there today who are probably doing multimedia but on other platforms outside of the Avaya world here, but they allow it to bring it into the one platform here altogether. What that means, I think on the next slide coming up, is the red pieces you should pretty much know about. The left side here, the Aura Contact Center Elite here, Experience Portal, those things aren't going away. They're staying there. They're fundamental to the solution here going forward. Breeze, as we've talked about in the first webinar, as a foundation to enable us to add features, functionality, applications, and extend it across the whole platform. So interaction management channels, you're familiar with many of these here. When you think of Elite, most of these are not relevant, right? We don't talk about SMS and email so much, or messaging apps or social media when we talk about Elite. Now, with an OCEANA solution on top of a Breeze with a Elite solution here, we can handle all of this interaction management. We get all the advantages of the next generation workflow, right, where we have visual workflows, where we can graphically design the flows of work items, calls, voices, interactions here, storing of data. We have the next generation of skills-based routing in here called the attribute-based matching here. It really gives us possibilities that skills-based routing always had limitations of you had to decide on the minimum set of skills you wanted to have in order to manage business here and be able to assign it to agents and SKUs here. But at the same time, you have customers who need to be put into very specific buckets and treated very individually here. The attribute-based matching gives us that opportunity to break it open. Context is a key piece that I keep repeating a whole lot in all the talks that I give here. Context, we talked about it 2 weeks ago in the first webinar, is understanding the longer history of what's going on. It's not only CRM data. It's not only things you can write into a database and read out again. It's things that are happening in real time that need to be also brought into the decision-making, into the routing of a work item to an agent, to a person here, or information that needs to be prepared and given to a responder, an agent here, when something shows up at their desktop here. Visual context, showing the agent what's happened before with this customer. I have an example I'll show you in just a moment. Underneath that, we've got, of course, reporting and analytics. We'll talk a little bit very briefly about that. I learned very early in my career when I was designing contact centers back in the 90s, if you can't report on it, don't build it. All the great things that we might be able to put together in blocks and make things look all really nice, if we can't build a solution to give us the analytics, the readouts, the reports, the insights we need, or our customers need to run their businesses here, it doesn't make any sense. So that's a core component is the analytics piece here. We'll come into that in just a moment. Features, functionalities like co-browsing, real-time speech, Slate, I'll talk about, which might not be something you know yet, but I'll show what that means, are all, if you want, snap-ins, which are on Breeze. But all of this in blue is part of the... And of course, on the right side, you see it's completely extendable. As we introduced in last week, or the last webinar here, is once you have the Breeze concept, the Breeze platform in place here, adding additional functionality and features is really easy to do. So just taking the applications of the features coming from OCEANA might be a great start, but there may be very specific applications or integrations that are necessary there for your businesses here to bring in more data, to enrich it here, that you can extend with additional snap-ins here. We have a special guest coming in a moment here to talk about some of those special snap-ins that can be added in here, which could enhance an entire Breeze or OCEANA environment here going forward. Key benefits, I won't read through all of them, but the basic thing, this is aimed for the Elite customer in its first release. The AACC customer that's out there today should be staying on AACC. There's no reason for them to be moving to OCEANA here. The AACC customers should be augmented with Breeze to give them additional functionality if they need those, or the additional snap-ins that are coming from the marketplace to enhance and further what's the possibilities on their AACC platform. The elite customer who's looking for that multimedia, who's looking for web chat, who's looking for smart social integration, be it what it may, is where this OCEANA is initially being aimed at here. It gives, we love the buzzwords, the true omni-channel experience. So really, all of those channels are now possible. Anything we can get an application interface to that we can connect to, we can bring into the OCEANA world. It's going to deliver better outcomes to businesses here, one, through the use of context, so making smarter decisions instead of just routing based on data entered in an IVR, or the phone number called, or the email address it was sent to here, bringing in more information to make the contextual decisions of who do I need to send this to at this time, or is it prioritized or not? And of course, getting it to specific agents gives us just new possibilities that we just didn't have in the elite skills-based routing world here. So some of the key features and functions at a glance, and again, I won't read them all. I realize I've got too much text on a slide here. Visual workflows is one that we've had as a subject for quite a long time, talking about how can I build business workflows and not have to use scripting? How can I build blocks that say, I need something to happen here, grab data from X, analyze it here with additional data there, put it into a routing decision maker here, queue it to a certain set of agents here, at the same time provide output and information to a certain reporting tool here, all in a graphical interface. So visual workflows engine here gives us the representation of all the code here in a very simple to use fashion. The 360-degree customer context. Again, harping on context here and how important that is here, understanding more about the event that's happening in a customer contact center moment here. The person comes through. I have an example in a moment. The person comes through on the phone, and the agent has to just welcome the person on the phone and say, how can I help you? Although that customer has had many interactions with that company already previously, why can't that agent know this information either before the call even arrives at the desktop or while they're talking to the customer here? Modern agent and supervisor workspaces. We've totally redesigned and built a whole new SDK on our agent desktops and supervisor desktops here, all based on HTML5. We're talking browser-based, a full omni-channel, all the media supported here from the go. I've got some examples of what that means going forward. And platform for innovation, of course, means this is all based on Breeze. So OCEANA is a packaged solution of features, functionalities built on the Breeze platform. An example of the 360-degree context here, from the left to the right, the Go mobile app was installed, something wrong, the customer sent an SMS to the business 3 days ago. They were on the website doing something here. They then sent an email 1 day ago, and now they call. We know what happens today. The agent is trying to be polite here and doesn't have any visibility of the previous history, what's been going on. With context stored down in the blue here at the bottom here, each of those interactions where the customer was interacting with the business gets stored. And then when the call arrives in the contact center, all that information can be taken into the workflow engine before it even goes to an agent, making sure the agent has all the correct information and can address the customer in the sense as, I understand what you've been doing. This is where Context Store, not only for OCEANA, but also for the AACC platform, can enable this customer journey to finally be solved in a fashion that we just didn't have the possibility to do before. Visual representation of context is also available. Here's a prototype or an example from an agent desktop. Agent has a call on their desktop, shown by the green card in the middle at the top there. And in the bottom right-hand window, you see all the interaction points that customers had with this business. They were on the web, they'd answered a survey, they sent an email here, they wrote something on social media, and now we have a voice call. Each of these blocks, each of the buttons there are an interaction point, whether initiated by the customer or by the company. And the agent can click on either one of these, on any of these here, and see exactly the details of what had happened along the way here, so that the customer doesn't have to repeat and explain every step of the way going forward. So context is going to be hugely important, one for visualization for the agent, but also using the contextual information for making the correct routing decisions along the way. Moving quickly through, I'm going to move into the OCEANA WORKSPACES. And this is the desktop, if you want to call it simply. So OCEANA WORKSPACES, we've got three aimed at the agent, the supervisor, administrator. The administrator desktop there you probably might be familiar with there. It's not a new development here. But the agent and supervisor, we built an SDK from the ground up. We're taking a completely new look at how we're going to build a client endpoints here, all based on HTML5 here. No client install anymore here. Completely customizable to make it the look and feel and the branding or whatever it needs the customer there is going to be part of the OCEANA WORKSPACES solution. What it might look like for an agent, and this will be our out-of-the-box agent that we'll deliver here. We'll also be delivering an SDK that you, customers, partners, can build their own version of the desktop, whatever components they need to be integrated there. The example is the top row of interaction cards will appear, showing the interaction type, showing them colored, whether they're active or inactive. Information that you features, functionalities called actions here will be shown based on the interaction type, transfer, hold, conference, and so forth. The bottom half is all dependent on what needs to be shown. It could be pop-up information. It could be, in this example, a video window from a call here, seamlessly moving. It might even have a chat history being shown of what's going on. Or back to the example of the context visualization. All of this can be adjusted and made possible for each client that you deliver the workspaces to. Leaving desktop and workspaces and moving to analytics here. OCEAnalytics, it might take a few times to practice to get the word out here, is our reporting solution for the OCEANA platform here. Taking all the real-time feeds and information coming in from all the points, including context, so not just number of calls that are coming in, the numbers they're dialing, the queues they're going into, the agents that are handling there, but other actions, other deep that are being collected along the way, all being collected by the analytics collectors here. Of course, provided into historical databases, providing it out for true cradle-to-grave reporting here across media types. So something that begins as a phone call and might move into a video call and ends up in a survey at the end there. We can see all that seamlessly across all those interactions now in the OCEAnalytics platform here. And of course, connecting to all the data providers that are out there, whether it's marketing or CRM or IVR data that needs to be plugged in there as well. Go forward. One slide on architecture, because some people I know like this, and the pieces in red you see in the middle are the core Breeze and OCEANA components here. You see features, snap-ins here, co-browse at the bottom, co-browse, chat, real-time speech, email, WEBRTC we'll cover here in just a moment with Markus here. Functions like work assignment, which is the attribute-based routing, engagement designer, the visual workflow designer here, context store, which is storing information, making it available to the decision-making workflow and the rest. All the way up to the client SDK, web services, and everything else. This is what's going to be built in the OCEANA release coming out in October of this year. So quickly in summary, for OCEANA, finally an omnichannel solution for the elite platform, coming from voice only now to a true omnichannel. All the channels, all the devices are covered. The visual workflows really helping to visualize and enable to design real customer journeys that can really attach and address the issues that companies are having today, particularly when customers are channel hopping across their businesses here. Context is one of the biggest things that I think that we should be positioning and presenting in all of our contact center conversations with customers. It's very important and very unique what Avaya is doing here with the context store and the availability to write things into the store, read them out at the right time when we need to make decisions or make available information to agents, or provide it as a data feed to another engine that it might take information and make it decisions. The workspaces finally moving to a very thin HTML5-based desktop is a great move for the OCEAnalytics, for the OCEANA platform here, and obviously it's completely extensible. we're talking about Avaya Breeze. Even though OCEANA is a product set, it's a contact center solution built on Breeze, it's all Breeze underneath here, meaning we don't have to stop just looking only at OCEANA. We can extend it to anything else we might want to add on functionalities that might be needed. An example of one of those, and another one of these words here, is Avaya Slate. Now, some of you may have been over the last year, some of you may have interacted with me over the last 5 or 6 years here. I know I've spent a lot of time in the area of social media and social interactions with customers and companies. And we pretty much learned that it wasn't a very easy subject to deal with. Most of our customers are still struggling today, or they've just decided, keep it in marketing, that's where it needs to happen. They take care of all the social media. From that, we learned that just the social media aspect of trying to find things on a wall or tweets that are sent out there and addressing them appropriately is not very efficient. It's not a good way to do this here. It's actually not what companies want to, how they want to interact with their customers. And many customers don't want to post their problems on somebody's wall, although there are plenty of them that do. So where Slate comes in is we looked at, starting in 2013, and we saw messaging, text-based communications starting to really take off. As an example, I'm going to assume probably most of you on the call here today have WhatsApp installed on your smartphone. You know about sending even SMSs here. All these different platforms here that are out there that are doing messaging here are just taking off in their numbers and uses here. So messaging means we're talking more or less one-to-one with a person. We're not talking about public conversations on a wall going on out there. And this really got a kick earlier this year when Facebook announced that they were going to bring in their messaging and open up their platform for automation called bots here on their Facebook Messenger platform here. And since April of this year, I can tell you the internets have just gone wild on this subject. And it's a subject that your customers are probably thinking about somewhere in their business. How do I address messaging as an interaction channel with my customers? So perhaps a step back and say, well, why would you need Slate? What does Slate provide for you here? When we think back 15, 18 years ago in the contact center space, most of it was only voice. We covered this in the first webinar. The email and the other interaction channels came later, but it also was voice. And once voice traffic picked up to a certain point, we knew we needed automation, and that's where the IVR came. Right. So in the same idea here, we've looked at text communications and said, if you're getting 20 communications an hour on a text channel via SMS from customers, you can handle that with an agent. If you get 200 in the next hour, you're going to have a problem, and you won't even catch it by the hour third. So how can we bring in smart tools that can help assist, analyze, perhaps even automate the conversation so that customers don't always have to be connected to a live agent? And these are just some of the use cases that we've come up with for around Avaya Slate. Automating the customer support, assisting the support, meaning partially automated, sending it to a live agent. Dialogue-driven, very IVR. If you think of IVR and scripting, it's also possible to build very strict dialogues, fill out this information that I can collect before you go to an agent. And then, of course, outbound notification. And we're talking notification on all the different text type platforms here that I'll talk about in a moment. This can be built in within your company app. So if your customers have their own apps out in the marketplace there, you could be building in, why not communication enable that app? Markus is going to talk a little bit about WebRTC as another possibility of bringing in voice or video into the conversation here. But what about adding text chat into a company app? Many companies are already doing SMS today, so they're sending SMS notifications to customers. Very often, they don't want a response back from the customer, though, because they're not set up to be able to handle responses. And, of course, then chat apps, which are taking off and getting a lot of attention right now, saying we want to be on Facebook Messenger and allow customers to communicate with us through that channel here, is another place this might be taking place. Some examples of how this might be used. So here's a couple of scenarios of how one might use Slate. And this first one here is about informing customers. So the workflow in Breeze would recognize that Mark here, let me bring up the slide, that Mark here, something changed on his account. So he had asked for a change to be made. Some information on some details on his account needed to be updated here. And once that was made, an automated message was sent to Mark here in this example on Facebook Messenger. Because the company knew Mark's Messenger, he'd already connected with them on Facebook Messenger, they knew that's where they could connect him the best. If you spend a little bit of time looking into messaging, you'll find the open rates on messages that people get versus emails is tremendously different, right? The email open rate for many companies is less than 10%. The open rate for messages, irrespective of what the platform or the messaging platform you might be sending it through, can sometimes be over 80% here. So want to access a person more effectively, email's not always the best way to do it. So here's information sent to Mark saying, updated, it was made to your business account, was that correct? An automated message. Mark then responds here saying, yes, that's correct, in natural language. There's no form he has to fill out. There's no buttons. There's no menu he needs to drive through here. By recognizing that, the system says it recognizes a positive response. He said it's okay. Then it offers him the opportunity, do you need more information? Do you need some assistance here? And he says no, and the system knows, the Slate system knows at that point, we can end this dialogue. One option, one possibility for sending out information to customers using Slate. Seamlessly integrating your agents in the conversation. So the first one was quite simple, where nothing really went wrong. It was all quite easy for the conversation, the automated conversation, to go to the customer. But here's another example of Marcel here, who's sending in information to his package delivery company. He's not going to be home today. He wants to have the package delivered to another neighbor other than the one he normally sent to here. The system recognizes that he's asking for a delivery change. It knows how to respond to delivery changes from learned interactions it's had with other customers previously. It knows also it doesn't know who he is and which tracking ID or package ID he's referring to here. He gives them the package information here, the tracking ID. It looks him up, it recognizes his name and knows who he is at this point. But then they recognize he's never used this system before. He's never asked for this type of service, so they're not really sure through the identification, do they really trust who's talking to them right now. And they offer to seamlessly transfer him to an agent, and he agrees, and it goes down to Melanie, who takes on and continues the conversation. When Melanie gets the chat conversation here, she gets the entire history previously as well, so she can see exactly what he's asked for, what's been going on. These messaging that's going on here can be, as I said, could be in SMSs. They can also be in any of these chat messaging applications that are out there. I will caveat at this point here, I already mentioned WhatsApp as an application for messaging here, and WhatsApp still today, in August of 2016, has not yet officially opened their application interfaces for companies to interact with it. Avaya is in conversation with WhatsApp here. We met with them earlier this year. They're working on their financials and how they're going to monetize the API access here, and we're hopeful that sometime in the next few months we'll hear some positive movement there, because I know I have customers, you may have customers who are all asking about how do I integrate with WhatsApp, but others are already there. So Facebook Messenger is an additional app from the Facebook world there. Twitter, either public tweets or direct messages one-to-one. Kik is another one that may or may not be so popular in your parts of the world. We have others with WeChat out in mostly Asia and China area there that we can also integrate with. So maybe another layer here, what is Slate? So Slate is a bot. Slate is artificial intelligence. Slate learns from previous conversations. So Slate connects to your text channels and learns from the conversations, sees what's being asked for here, and can automate the responses to customers here. When it's not satisfied or it's not sure it knows what the customer is actually asking for here, it has a confidence meter. It knows when to get out and offer to send it to a live agent here. So Slate connects to the public channels, if you want, out there, whether it's SMS or web chat there. It can also connect to the other social channels, whichever the customers might be interested in using here, both inbound and outbound. It then also connects to the contact center platform. And because we're talking about OCEANA here, there's the example of a Slate connecting to Breeze, a snap-in on Breeze here, and then, of course, being able to feed off to an agent in the OCEANA world here. Slate will also interact with any of the Avaya contact center platforms. Elite has to have OCEANA because Elite doesn't have web chat, but Elite multi-channel, if you have customers with that, could be enhanced with Breeze and added a Slate snap-in. We could use this as well. Slate is multilingual. So I know we have people on the call here today from many different countries. We have 24 supported languages today. We expect to add that many new languages as the requests come in here. We've learned this over the last 6 years with our social media. How do we handle certain languages, whether it's Tagalog or Thai or Chinese, languages with or without spaces between the words. All the European languages here. Arabic, of course, is covered here, and the Romance languages are there. It's a self-learning engine. From day one, Slate does very little. It can help function. It can help filter and route requests coming in. But as soon as the messages become handled by Slate, it gets smarter and learns from the interactions going forward. At some point, you will find interactions being automated with the customers here and providing perhaps full self-service. And finally, to put this all around us, Slate is a service offered from the cloud. There's no installation for your customers. The hurdle to get into Slate is very low. We need a connection into the contact center, so we need either a Breeze snap in here, if we're talking Breeze, or a connection to an AACC, if there's no Breeze involved here. And we need the connections to the services, the SMS channel, the web chat they might have out there, or the social media messaging sites if they want. And there's a subscription service here. There's no install price. You sign up for Slate on day one. On day two, it's working for you. It's very simple. It's a monthly recurring cost here for Slate. The idea here is Slate is going to enable us to talk to these new digital channels very easily and lightweight and get them into the smart contact center processes and decisions in the back end here. Slate, the pricing for Slate is not set yet here, but I tell many people when they ask, well, what is the price for Slate going to cost me a month? And I say it's going to cost you about one agent per month. What your agent costs, and I know that varies across the regions that might be on the call here today, but what an agent costs is about what Slate might cost you per month. Of course, it can go up depending on the type of features and level of number of messages you might be having coming across the Slate platform, but it's got a very low hurdle to get started on Slate. So what that means, another example here of when you really tie it together with Breeze, so bring this back into the Breeze world here, is taking insights, information that a company has about a person, as well as what the person's trying to do at the moment on a platform here. This example is just an SMS. So an automated SMS was sent to Mr. Jones telling him his daughter's cell phone account, the prepaid account, is almost run out of money. She's going to stop having data service perhaps here. Would you like to adjust this? So an automated message, not really anything new. Your customers might be doing this already today. But here, Mr. Jones can respond in natural language. So he just says, can I respond one time? Can I add something just to top it up here? The system recognizes what he's trying to do, but also knows more about who he is and knows he's a certain type of customer, and they want to add a little bonus, a teaser here. If you add over 20 pounds here, they're going to give you an additional 20%. Right? This is the pull-in here, and hopefully he won't just put 5 pounds or 10 pounds. But in this case, he goes for the 20 pounds. She gets credited. All of this conversation is happening automatically by Slate. The insights are being provided through a Breeze snap-in on the back end to know about who is Mr. Jones, what kind of company is, who his daughter is here, which accounts now need to be updated with the 24 pounds. Then ask him, is there anything else they can do for him? He has a question, maybe to talk about something much, much broader. And at this point, the Slate application knows to back out and says, no problem. I'll seamlessly hand over this entire conversation to a specialist here. And by the way, here's a link that's made just for you, and it's a WebRTC link that you can go right into a conversation and talk to an agent here who then gets the entire history of this conversation, the chat going on, the SMS is going on before, and can see what's going on and handle Mr. Smith, I forget his name, seamlessly here. This is where we see Avaya Slate and the Slate bot and the self-learning and the intelligence of that there, together with Breeze and OCEANA here, is really going to make for some really interesting solutions here. I think the reason I show this here, it's even though it's coming out in January of next year, when Slate will be out, OCEANA officially is now on October the 10th of this year, which is very soon. Slate is a little bit further away, but I think it's important for all of you to know of this today, know that Avaya is in this space. We can talk to your customers now about these possibilities. We're looking for beta customers into the fall. to take into the January timeline here. It's something I know many of your customers are already thinking about. What do I do in this messaging space here? How can I make sense of messaging? How can I just route it to the right agent instead of just having one big pool of agents? Slate can start at that simple point here and then expand to be so much more. So that's something, it's maybe a little bit further away, but I think it was very important to show you. So at this point, I'd like to bring in a special guest, Chris Rouse from Symmetrics. We'd like to show a little bit about what Symmetrics is, of course, doing, what they've been doing with Avaya, as well as what they're doing right now when it comes to Avaya Breeze. Chris, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Andrew, and good morning, everyone. We really appreciate this opportunity to tell everyone on today's call a little bit about Symmetrics. My name is Chris Rouse. I'm Vice President of Product Management and Marketing at Symmetrics, and I'm joined by my colleagues Nikki Timpson and Frank Aylen today. Today, we just want to briefly introduce you to our company and answer three simple questions. Who is Symmetrics, and what kind of problems do we solve for our customers? I want to tell you a bit about how we solve those problems and leave you with some thoughts, finally, about how we at Symmetrics might work with the Avaya partners on this call to solve some customer challenges. So, who is Symmetrics, and what kind of problems do we solve for contact centers? Well, our aim at Symmetrics is to be the leader in reporting on any and all information pertaining to the customer experience in the omni-channel contact center. Symmetrics is a business intelligence company, and we were founded by the creators of Crystal Reports, which is still the world's most popular independent reporting application. We're headquartered in Vancouver, Canada, which is where Crystal started. We actually started in their offices. But we have offices in the UK, in Belgium as well as in the United States. Now, our relationship with Avaya goes back almost a decade. We were one of the first members of the Avaya Dev Connect Select Product Program. And to this day, we are the only technology partner to sit on Avaya's reporting customer advisory committee. We have consulted closely with Avaya's product management teams for contact centers, and we're really the partner of choice worldwide for solving complex reporting challenges for Avaya and its resale partners. Here we see the obligatory wall of logos. As you can see, we've accumulated a pretty big number of national and international customers in part of Avaya itself, but also, as you can see, with national and regional value-added resellers and systems integrators. Now, the simplest way to explain our success is that Symmetrics specializes in solving complex problems in the omni-channel contact center. This complexity can be due not only to multiple and simultaneous contact channels, but also multiple contact center sites in multiple geographies. Many of our customers are mixed vendor environments where Avaya systems coexist with partner and even competitor systems. Most of our customers have reporting needs that cross many silos of data that trap data and specialized applications for things like workforce management and CRM and ERP, quality monitoring, and custom-built applications which are present in many of our customers. And almost all of them have analytical measurement needs that go far beyond what, the so-called standard metrics. They often have highly specialized and customer-specific metrics that require customized recalculation and reaggregation of the data stored in those application-specific silos of data found across the contact center. If you remember nothing else about Symmetrics from our little presentation today, just please remember this: complexity is our specialty. So, those are the problems. How do we solve them? Well, the contact center, the Symmetrics Contact Center reporting suite, we just call it Symmetrics Suite for short, is made up of 4 main modules that they can be deployed independently or together as the customer needs. The Symmetrics Data Broker, that's our foundation. So it's a common data platform for the collection, processing, and distribution of all contact center system data, whether that's real-time, historical or very granular contact detail. It handles both structured and unstructured streaming or big data, as it were. Symmetrics Real-Time is a network service that collects, processes, and publishes and displays real-time data collected from any contact center system with real-time feeds. The Symmetrics Data Mart is in fact actually a data warehouse that's optimized for historical contact center reporting from any contact center source across the ecology. And finally, we have the Symmetrics Info Manager, which is our front-end reporting application that lets you mix and match all of the real-time, historical, and contact detail data you need in dashboard-based reports and scorecards. Now, with our brief time today, we just don't have time to discuss the Symmetrics architecture in detail. What we'd ask you to remember is that Symmetrics Suite is the broadest solution for the collection, processing, and storage of contact center data from any source, whether it's structured or unstructured, streaming or stored in databases across the contact center. Symmetrics brings it all together in a unified and open architecture. So open, in fact, that you can use not only our Symmetrics Info Manager for reporting, but also any other reporting application your customers might prefer, be that Crystal Reports or Business Objects, Cognos, or simply Microsoft Reporting Services and Excel. Now, one reason you might want to strongly consider using the Symmetrics Info Manager is that it features a complete library of reports, dashboards, and other content for Avaya CMS, as well as other products in the Avaya omnichannel ecology. It's also very easy to use. It has a very plain language, I should say, reporting user interface. It makes it really intuitive for customers to build reports themselves or for our partners to build them on their customers' behalf, or both. Again, because we don't have a ton of time today to discuss our solutions in detail, I'll just underline what really makes us different. Symmetrics works with any data from any source in any structure from data anywhere on the network. And our reporting blends real-time, historical, and contact detail level data into unified views. And we can do all this in the cloud, on-premise, in private data centers, or any combination of those hybrid deployments, as it were. So our current out-of-the-box integration includes most of the major Avaya contact center systems and subsystems, including, as we discussed today, AACC, Elite with CMS. We have contact level detail, this ECH and ICH data. We cover the dialers, Avaya Interaction Center, Elite multi-channel, and of course the Workforce Management Partner product from Verint. Of particular importance to today's call is our integration with Avaya Breeze Contact Store, which Andrew so ably talked about earlier. We also have a couple of Avaya Breeze snap-ins available, which I'm going to touch on in just a moment. In passing, I'll mention that we have out-of-the-box integration, again, with non-Avaya systems that may be found in your customers' contact centers, most frequently workforce management systems like Verint, obviously, NICE IEX, Aspect Workforce Management, and so forth. We also have full support for mixed vendor contact centers with systems using Cisco UCC, Siemens, Unify, of course, Genesis, and Interactive Intelligence CIC, amongst others. Now, because we spent some time talking today about Avaya Breeze, I just want to spend a minute or two on our two new Avaya Symmetrics Breeze snap-ins. The first is our data collection snap-in, which gives a method for the engagement designer within Breeze to collect and store custom data elements for real-time and historical reporting. So a good example of that would be, Breeze is able to build workflows that detect call drops and initiate a callback via the caller ID. Now, none of that is visible to CMS. So this Symmetrics snap-in captures that data created by Breeze that would otherwise be lost and stores it for later use in reporting. The flip side, the other side of the equation, we have the Symmetrics snap-in for data retrieval. This simply allows Breeze's engagement designer to pull external data into workflows when needed. So as an example, last agent routing workflows, in order for them to function properly, the engagement designer needs a method to find the most recent agent ID associated with an incoming caller ID. Now, in the case of a caller who's calling in, a month after their last contact, this might be at a warehouse. In the case where the caller is just calling back after only a few minutes, this agent ID might actually be stored in a real-time repository. Either way, the Symmetrics snap-in knows where to find the values and return them to the Breeze workflow to route the call to the proper agent. So that was a very fast overview of Symmetrics and the problems we solved. So I just want to conclude very quickly on how partners on this call can work with us. First, it's important to understand the kind of customer who usually needs our help. Now, we work with customers from quite small contact centers to quite large contact centers. Our experience runs the gamut. But the customer that occurs most often, they tend to be large omni-channel contact centers in industries that have pretty sophisticated and specific measurement requirements. So again, as I said before, complexity is where Symmetrics really shines. If you have a customer that has tried and failed at one or more reporting initiatives, we're the people to talk to. Once you've identified a prospective customer, Symmetrics does the heavy lifting from then on in for the rest of the sales process, from qualification and needs assessment through to solution design. And then we work jointly on pricing and the presentation of the solution to the customer, with Symmetrics supporting the partner through follow-up communications and finally closing the deal. The simplest way and best way to get the ball rolling is to contact my colleague, Nikki Timpson, our Business Development Director for EMEA, at the email address that I'll leave on the screen here. So thanks so much for giving us the opportunity to introduce Symmetrics, and I guess I'll hand it back to Andrew, and I guess we're going to look at some questions.
Yeah, I think it's me picking up here. It's Markus picking up here from now.
Sorry, Markus.
So don't worry. Question management is done by Andrew and myself, looking at what has been asked in the chat window, and we will follow up with this afterwards. I would like to take the opportunity, as we have talked about Omnichannel today, to give you an insight on what we see specifically coming from the WEBRTC end of this. So WEBRTC is immediately linked to the Omnichannel communication, and based on experience over the past 2 years, I found that there has to be some explanation in some areas and how to bring things together specifically in that conversation. Well, how can you do WEBRTC and how do you do this in an Avaya environment, because we are not in a greenfield area in here. So having a quick view on what the basics of the technology are. WebRTC is a technology where two browsers communicate with each other for audio and for video to exchange that kind of real-time communication. And that's the promise of it all. But, well, it's obviously not that only these two browsers have to communicate, but you have to start setting up that communication by some kind of invitation. And if you have ever tried for instance, built into Firefox WebRTC communication. You see that this is going something through emails that have been sent forth and back, where a link is embedded into these emails. And this link, of course, then allows the two parties to go to a common web server to kick off that communication. And once they found each other, the peer-to-peer stream with audio and video embedded is set up. So this is how the WEBRTC-TRIANGLE, the base technology, works. Now the question is, how do we bring this into existing environments? And existing environments in a customer service world typically means, well, we have some kind of voice communication already, and we would like to link this into the WebRTC world. And therefore, we need to connect that web application server to the SIP server, so to the voice PABX, in order to handle the other end of the call. So not only the browser side, but also how do we get this into an existing SIP environment. So that communication is handled between these two servers and the SIP server, of course. The SIP server then is in the position to raise the alarm and the event of where someone wants to talk to you to a SIP client in a customer services environment. And then we again have that peer-to-peer connection established between the browser and the SIP client. And again, this can be audio and this can be video. But this wouldn't be a complete enterprise scenario, because where this would assume where you have a direct connection between the SIP client on the right-hand side and the browser on the left-hand side. And in a real enterprise world, we of course would assume that there needs to be some demarcation point, and that demarcation point typically can be kind of a gateway. It should be a gateway function, in fact, but it can be managed in a today's SIP world as well as a function of the session border controller. And then this is exactly the point where you distinguish between the inside of the enterprise world and the outside of the enterprise world to make things happen. And on the right-hand side, inside the enterprise, this can be your complete Avaya Aura environment, which we enhance with the functions coming with Avaya Breeze in order to give this Aura architecture a link into the WebRTC world and to make this connect. So this is how the technology basically works, and well, I think the value of WebRTC is something that is discussed widely. By integrating these real-time services, voice and video, into the web browser, reducing number of special applications that you would probably require if you would run these services separated from each other, and to embed in-context communication into the stream of conversation and of contact. And that, of course, is something where Avaya Breeze, when we talk about context, has its own snap-in, which is called Context Store, where you can place the data that you have collected on the website when the communication started and use it for further activities. So this is the generic value of WebRTC. Once we start thinking about, well, where can we bring the innovation element in, we immediately get into something that we also think about in many environments. It's the gaming industry and it's the Internet of Things. And I think both elements, gaming as well as IoT, they show promising approaches in terms of customer service as well, where you should connect. If you're a heavy gamer, you should be able to connect to your customer services environment for your favorite games, for whatever reason, directly from within the game or directly from within the website that the game is running on. Same to the Internet of Things. So this is where the innovation element probably is coming in, and then extending that generic value proposition into a value proposition of WebRTC plus Avaya Breeze, where we are saying Breeze is your anchor point to bring these new services together and to feed them into the customer services world that you have already been building over the past couple of years. And we are one step closer to the promise of voice and video just being other applications on the customer's network and in his business applications. That's my short wrap-up, brief view into what WebRTC gives us, and I'm handing back to Andrew after just pointing you to this link where you can see WebRTC Contact Center as a demo for a smart government kiosk in action on YouTube. I'm going to paste the link into the chat window now immediately in a second. Okay, Andrew, back to you.
Thank you, Markus. And I've been trying to catch up with the chat questions here. There's quite a few around Slate and languages and platforms, as well as differentiation between what is Oceanalytics and Symmetrics and all. I don't think I'm going to get them all typed in or answered here in the last 2 minutes of the call, but what we'll do is we're going to capture all of these questions, and we'll supply answers to all of them in the email that you will all get after this call that Michael will be sending out. We'll make sure we try to get all the information together for you. I'll keep typing as soon as I finish here before we all log off, but I think it's getting kind of tight. Resources we have. If you also have more questions around Breeze, and it could be Breeze, you can go in and ask about OCEANA and Oceanalytics, as well as Slate and any of these things. LinkedIn is a place we like to try to get people to go in, because then we can talk to a lot of people, share your questions that you might have here. I moderate the Breeze forum on LinkedIn. I have a colleague that works with me on the Zing for those who particularly like to communicate in German, as we have a number of German participants here on the call as well. DevConnect is the place for those of you who are interested in building Breeze, building snap-ins, and want more information. There are videos. There is sample code that you can download here. If you are not a DevConnect partner, you can sign up for free and get access to it. There's also forums available on the DevConnect site where you can also go ask more technical, detailed questions there. That is monitored, and also you'll see responses from people like Joel, who is Chief Engineer for the Breeze platform as well. And Markus mentioned YouTube. We keep trying to put out information. Markus and I and some of our colleagues are very busy in creating use cases and stories and videos to visualize what we're doing here. He mentioned the WebRTC video that's out there. Go onto YouTube, Google, enter Breeze into the search window. You'll find many things from Avaya, from some of us here, even from some of our partners that are creating their own videos and scenarios of how they've built things with Breeze. Very, very interesting and active community there. Use cases, of course, under the bit.ly link, Engagement 4.0, can be downloaded all in PowerPoint format. You can take the information and rebrand it to yourself, put your company logo on it, show it to your customers if they're relevant. Always looking for feedback you might be looking for. And with that, Michael, I'll hand it back to you.